if you are able to have love and commitment with people platonically, you are able to have it romantically.
I have more energy to get things done when I have a lot on my plate.
I felt profoundly lonely in that way. I felt like I wasn't known.
Life and death as your why is not very productive for actually achieving your goals.
There's nothing else that leaves me feeling like such a failure as New Year's.
Hey, welcome back. We're Not For Everyone, a podcast hosted by a hater and a lover, but really more than anything, two scientists. We're both wearing our scientist hats and we're ready to get. Honestly, I do think I have some science to share in this
Oh, I
episode.
believe you. I
It's a
believe
what to
you.
do. It's a what to do. And so people are going to ask us questions. We've collected some questions on New Year's, like New Year's themed questions, whatever that means to you. If it's like having to do with your resolutions or having to do with your like plans for the new year, plans for the night of New Year's, even though this is coming out a couple days later, maybe you need to process some things about a weird New Year's that you had, whatever it is. That's what this episode is. And I do feel like after reading through some of the questions, I have like data driven, I have like two data driven points to say, and then a
Awesome.
couple other just like musings, and then nothing because we're in bed.
That sounds great.
How are you feeling? Are you going to be sciency or are you going to be more like vibes?
I think I'm gonna bring the arts. I think we're a part
Yes.
art, part science. I think I'm bringing the arts
Arts and
today.
science.
I
Okay.
was just thinking about New Year's, and I don't know if this is like an overspoken topic. I feel like it's not. I feel like we need to talk about it more, which is that I think New Year's is like one of my least favorite holidays.
Mm.
And every single year, I never feel like I'm doing the right thing. I never feel like it's cool or interesting and it's supposed to be, but it's just like it's just a freaking night.
Your
I don't feel
plans, you
that
mean?
with yeah, I don't feel that with any other holiday. 4th of July, no matter what, I feel fun. Christmas, no matter what, I feel a little sad and a little festive.
Mhm.
Like Thanksgiving, it's like a little food and a little hectic. It's like there's nothing else that leaves me feeling like such a failure as New Year's. And I think probably because I'm not a big partier, so I never have like crazy party plans. But when I lived in New York, a couple of years I did, and I would go to like,
It's the worst.
you pay your life savings to go to some stupid, pointless bar or event. And even when I went to those, it's like you're waiting around, you're dressed up, you're in your heels, you're freezing cold, you're waiting around till midnight, and then it's midnight and there's balloons and everyone screams, and then you're like, now what? And
Hmm.
there's like this hilarious moment to me as soon as it's like midnight and 5 seconds that everybody's just like, oh, now what do we do? We've been anticipating how we're gonna have a good time, but now we just have to be, it's like at midnight, you have to be present for like 10 minutes and nobody can. And then I don't know. I thought those were actually like the most hilariously disappointing moments where you're like, I even showed up to the party and like we were waiting in the anticipation.
Hmm.
Oh, now what? And
Now
no
we
one knows
just
what to
go home.
do.
That's the
Now we just
funniest
go
part
home.
after a party, a New Year's party is like, how long will everyone last, especially when you're not big partiers or you are in your 30s or something. It's like
Yeah.
we had New Year's plans and I guess we're pre-recording this, so I'm not going to try to pretend that I know what already happened, but if I'm to anticipate what happened on my New Year's,
Oh,
it's
you're
that
predicting the future. I love this.
yeah,
Yes.
it's that we go to our friend's party, the clock strikes midnight, and then like 10, 15 minutes later, I'm like, is it too soon to go home? Or like, what's the time that is acceptable where I've like stayed long enough for this day? Like, you can't leave right
I
after it strikes
know.
midnight, but everyone kind of wants
I leave
to.
before. Last night I got tired at like 11:30 and went home in an Uber and I just celebrated New Year's in an Uber with a stranger.
I love that for you.
It was pretty much the same as celebrating it with friends. I was like, so I hate this every year.
That's true. Yeah, it is such a like overhyped holiday with a lot of pressure on it. I think especially when you're younger and you haven't yet tried every type of New Year's you could have and realize all of them are bad. Like you kind of have to do that because you have to have like the New Year's where you go out in a city and it's a ripoff and you lose all your friends and like
And then you have to do it like 3 times because the first time you're just like, oh, that bar wasn't that good. They all are bad
right,
on New Year's. They're all
right.
bad.
And then you have to do like the house party that's also has like whatever weird stuff going on. Then you also have to do the like vacation or the cabin weekend or whatever. You have to do all of them. You have to do it with a toxic partner. You have to do it
You have to,
single.
you
You
have
have to do
to.
it all the ways until you are just freed of any expectation of this
Yeah.
night. And
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like I've checked all those boxes. So now
That's so
I'm
funny.
just here. I'll just be
You
there.
know why? I feel like you just nailed on the head why it sucks so much because New Year's is like the epitome of expectation. It's saying, like, I'm going to do all this preparing and expecting and getting my hopes up. And then once the thing comes around, it's going to be magically so fun and so different from any other night, which is like the worst mentality you can have for pretty much anything. And I don't know, maybe some people are out there having great New Year's, but every time I want to die. I'm
I
like,
think it
every time I'm like, I guess I'm lame.
I know, and I think it applies to, I feel like I do that a lot with, I don't know,
Life.
average things. Like I'm a big birthday person, so there's a bit of expectation on my birthday.
But you always
Or
seem happy on your birthday. You always seem
because
like you're
I
fucking
plan
killing
it
it.
all, because I orchestrate everything that I want. And I do go into it with an attitude of like, if people are acting weird, if people are being dramatic, if people are not showing up with the energy I want them to show up with, that's out
They're
of my
fired.
control. Like
Oh,
I
okay.
will just be happy. So, yeah, like, and that's because I've had many disappointing birthdays, you know? So now if my birthday is going to be something that matters to me, then I have to just control as
Own
much as
it.
I can control, enjoy those elements that I can control, and
Mm-hmm.
then let go of the rest.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that I don't know, it's like this common thing. Even I'll plan like a girls' night. And as soon as you label it, as soon as you're like, let's do girls' night,
It's
let's
gonna
do a
be a
night where the
thing.
girls go out, it's a thing. As soon as you make
Let's
it a
have a night
thing,
to remember. You can't ever want to remember
you
anything.
can't. It will, it will fail. It's like, oh, then the bar you went to was kind of
Mm-hmm.
lame and quiet and the music wasn't good. And then so and so's like period cramps were really acting up and that ruined the vibe. Like, as soon as it's a thing, it's
Yeah.
ruined. I mean, I'm home now for the holidays and I sprained my ankle like a couple days
Oh,
before
poor
coming home
Jess.
and I had to be wheelchaired through the airport, which I do,
How'd
you
you
know,
sprain it?
all respect to people who are not
How'd
in
you sprain
able
your
bodies,
ankle?
but it was pretty sick to be wheelchaired through the airport. I don't, I sprained it being an athlete, Caroline. That's the story I'm willing to tell. And the point is that my family was really excited to have like a Christmas to remember, and we were all going to plan one night of the week. Everybody was going to have their activity that the rest of the family just had to like come along to. You know, if my
Mm-hmm.
sister wants us to go on like a beach walk, then we all have to do that. If my mom wants us to go paint pottery, then we all have to do that, whatever. And
Interesting.
now that my ankle is sprained, many of the activities are no longer in the
Yeah.
running. And it's just kind of one of those reminders of like, as soon as you try to make something a thing and plan
Yeah.
it and like put expectation around it, the universe will send you a
A
curveball,
wheelchair. A
a
wheelchair.
wheelchair, a Jess in a wheelchair. And she just wants to have her feet up. Literally, she needs to have her feet up. So,
Oh
yeah,
my
I don't know.
God.
That's my big like holiday takeaway and something I will try to bring to New Year's and bring into the new year too is just continuing to remind myself to not have expectations or not put that much pressure on things or like yeah, just level set. That's my phrase, level set my expectations.
Mm,
Because I think it's kind of like the kiss of death.
kiss your butt.
Okay, kiss my butt. Let's do it. Let's get into this first topic.
Cool.
All right. So
Okay,
we
wait,
have
can
a
I
what
share
to
a
do.
pet peeve? Can I share a pet
Mhm.
peeve that I just am an offender of?
Okay.
I hate seeing hairbands on people's wrists.
Really?
I hate it. I try not to, and I mean, I understand the function. I have hair everywhere and I need them all the time, but I just aesthetically it's up there with to me with the Apple Watch.
I was gonna say you hate hairbands around the wrist, Apple Watches, and bracelets. You just don't want wrists to be
Sometimes,
constricted
no, I like the look of bracelets on other people. I don't like the feeling of
wearing
them on
them.
me.
Okay.
But I just think, and this is gonna really upset some people, but I think it's offensive on me too. I just think that hairbands ruin. You could have the cutest outfit
Yeah,
on, and as soon as you have a hairband on your wrist, you look like you're in middle school, and it ruins your outfit.
totally.
I
I've
feel really
stopped
strongly
putting them
about
on my
this.
wrist because I feel
I
the same way.
know.
I keep
I
them
put
in
them
my
in my
purse.
pocket. Yeah, we
Yeah,
have pockets, but
you can put them
I don't
places.
know why. It's like I made a big switch.
I'm even starting to wear my Apple Watch less. And
Oh my
okay,
God, I
so
could
I've
crush on
definitely
you.
stopped anytime that I've considered wearing it, like at a wedding or I feel like I usually didn't wear it at a wedding, but just like a formal event, I've stopped wearing it. And then I've even taken that one step further where like, I don't know, I'm kind of thinking about giving up the Apple Watch altogether. I just don't want to be reachable. And it
Yeah.
doesn't really
Yeah.
weigh. It's like, yes, I can track my steps with it, but my ankle's bum, so I'm not even getting any steps. Like, and I don't want to be reachable. Like, I'm just thinking I would like to let go. Maybe this is a resolution for me. Like, I would like to stop trying to track everything that
Mm,
I do with some wearable device. Like, can I just be alone? Can I just have
yeah.
no electronics strapped to my body? So that's something I'm
Girl,
thinking about. I'm literally going to stop wearing it.
about a month ago, I got drunk alone, obviously at home, and ordered a dumb phone that can only it has a notes app and it has maps and it has podcasts and music and it can text and that's all it can do. And
Whoa.
it's coming with a delay. I think I get it in like April. And so I have this weird buildup where I'm like, can I even actually adapt to using this phone? And so I'm trying to slowly start doing it. And like I deleted I was like, what are the utilitarian apps that I use, but I could get used to not using them instantly, like Venmo, I'm not like
Yeah.
wasting 8 hours a day on Venmo, but I'm like, oh, I
Can you
can't give it
imagine?
up. I can't give it up. Yeah, can you imagine if I was addicted to Venmo and that's where all my screen time came from? And like, but it also feels like, well, how am I going to survive without Venmo? Write down what I owe someone, and when I get home, I Venmo them from my laptop.
Yeah.
Or like I'm slowly trying to delete the apps and like prepare. I feel like I'm like pregnant with a dumb phone and I'm preparing to go back in time. I'm really excited about it.
That's
I'm
very
really excited.
exciting.
I'm really excited.
I will be interested to hear like
Oh my gosh.
what is the hardest app? Not just from a like, oh, we're all addicted to scrolling on Instagram
Hmm.
framing, but more from the framing of like, no, this is actually something I didn't realize I used a lot, you know?
I'm trying to notice it a lot and notice like when I'm using an app that like, oh, I'm gonna have to find a new solution to this with the dumb phone.
Right.
And the biggest offender, it's not social media, even though my fucking livelihood's on social media, I can do without it. The biggest offender are little moments where you want to Google something when you're out and you're like, oh, we need to find a restaurant, or oh, I need to like scan that ticket to get into this concert. It's like,
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to do a little more pre-planning, which is not the end of the world. We used to live that way. And B, I need to just live with curiosity sometimes and not know the answer to stuff and be like,
Hmm.
oh, did I get that thing or did I da da da? It's like that's half the time when I pull out my phone and just getting the instant gratification of like, I want to know this or I want to find this or I want to show you this. Let me do it right now. Almost none of them are necessities. I think that's what I'm noticing so far. Is I
Hmm.
feel there are things I feel like I need, but I don't.
Yeah. I'm very intrigued. I'm
Stay
very
tuned.
intrigued.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll have to report back in like after a few months or like a year of use, but we'll
Yeah,
see.
that's kind of annoying how long it's going to take, but you
I
need
also want to
time to
make sure
prep,
that
I
I can
guess.
actually like adapt to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once you get it, you
Sorry.
mean?
Yeah. Like live
Or
with
you're
it.
saying with this pre-planning stage?
No, like I need to live with it for a while. Live with the
Oh,
phone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Science.
Science time. All right. What to do when your why should be enough to stick to new habits, but you just don't do them. Every new year, I realize I didn't do my number one goal, and I know many people looking for that spark that jumpstarts you out of procrastination. If I want to lose weight, if I want to get therapy, if I want better health, my whys are life and death, i.e., obesity, diabetes, shorter life, pain, suffering, sadness, etc. But why are my whys still not enough? What's wrong with me?
Oh,
So this,
nothing's wrong with you.
right?
That's of course the why. The why is a long-term reason, and in the short term you've all this
Mm-hmm.
short-term satisfaction that you want to fulfill. The why is never enough for anybody. The long-term why, you're not alone in that. It's so relatable. And
Yeah.
it's, I think it's actually unrealistic to expect the long-term thing gets most people to their goals. For most people it won't.
Oh, totally. This is my first tidbit of science that I think I've shared before on the podcast, which is I studied public health. So one of the big like areas within that is behavior change. And the classic example that they use to show this very point is that in anti-smoking campaigns, like in media and ad coverage in the 90s and 2000s when smoking was like a really big problem, they were trying to message like this will give you lung cancer, you will die, like long-term health problems as a result of smoking. And that was so ineffective in stopping anybody from smoking. But as soon as they started to put pictures of like what your teeth will start to look like, what your skin will start to look like the shorter term physical implications of like things that are a little superficial, like how you look on these ads and on like cigarette packages and stuff, that is actually what has been shown to like have a much bigger impact. So it is
Mm-hmm.
totally human that we don't want to change our behaviors for things that are long term, like out of sight, out of mind. I might die. Okay, when I'm 60, I might get cancer. Like, whatever, I'm going to get cancer anyway, is kind of the attitude that a lot of us have adopted. Um, that's not my problem right now. I want the short term satisfaction. So I do think, like, yeah, life and death as your why is not very productive for actually achieving your goals. And I will
Mm-hmm.
also say that this person listed as their examples things that, yes, have to do with life and death, like your health, for one thing, but they also listed like sadness and pain and suffering, which technically are not life and death. You can live a long, sad life where you're suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that one it's almost like it's where you're comfortable. Like,
But it's also that if she was talking about obesity, trying to, right? Is
yeah,
that what she was specifically
that was
talking
one of
about?
the she just listed, she didn't
Like a
actually say
diet,
what her goal has been. She's
or
just
the
saying
risk was
that
obesity, I think she said.
if I want to lose weight, if I want to get therapy, if I want better
Yeah.
health, my whys are life and death. Obesity, diabetes, shorter life, pain, suffering. Okay, I guess now I see that maybe those are
Yeah.
specifically the goals that she's talking about.
So if it's specifically about weight loss or
Your health.
obesity or something, um, for most people, okay, so there's a long-term risk that you could get diabetes or become obese or compromise your health in the complications that can be associated with obesity. But in the short term, you could eat something that tastes great and you get an immediate dopamine rush, and it's extremely pleasant in the short
Hmm.
term. There's literally a dopamine rush for most of like the sugar highs and having a pleasant sensory experience. And it's also like for so many people, myself included, eating is emotional coping. So it's like long term maybe it'll be painful, but short term it is the most rewarding.
Yeah.
So that's why you keep choosing it over that, because it's so tightly coupled for so many people with immediate comfort. Of course,
Hmm.
it's so relatable. It's so relatable.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I was thinking about the comfort zone. Like, it is much harder to make a change than it is to stay with what's comforted you, for what's comfortable to you, what's been your pattern and your habit, and something that there is a reason that you're doing it. It's not like, oh, I just can't stop eating or I can't get my ass up to go to the gym. It's like there's a reason that you're choosing those things. The dopamine effect from food and emotional eating and things like that could be one of them. Like just that it's easier to stay on your couch after a long day of work when you can explain to yourself, I worked all day and I'm really tired and it's cold and dark out and I don't want to go to the gym. Like there's a reason that you're not going to the gym. It's because you're choosing the more comfortable thing as like most of us struggle with all the time. So, yeah, I just feel like this person is being really hard on themselves. But the other thought I had was, okay, how do you actually change this? I think you have to find better whys. Like you have to find shorter
Shorter term
term
wise. Yep.
whys.
Shorter
Yeah.
shorter term wise.
You have to motivate yourself, and you're noticing that motivating yourself is not happening by explaining to yourself these life and death whys. And that's very normal. But then you need to find shorter term motivation. And also with that, like there needs to be an element of like you believe you can do it. That's another behavior change principle is like
Mm,
on the journey to change a behavior, there's like a pre-contemplation stage, a contemplation stage, and in these stages there's like a big element of it is motivation. Like, do I actually
wow.
believe I can do the thing? And to take yourself from contemplation to actually doing it, the factor that makes the difference for most people is they believe they can do it. And in order to make that possible, your goal needs to be something small, short term, achievable, like that you literally believe you can achieve. So maybe the goal isn't, I'm going to lose 50 pounds this year. Maybe the goal is, I'm going to go for a walk every other day, for a 10-minute walk every other day, or whatever it is for you. Something that feels achievable, that feels like realistic, that feels short term. And maybe your motivation for that is because you notice that fresh air makes you have a better mood each day
Hmm.
or something. Um, so I don't know. You have to really break it down to building blocks, basically. And this is a big reason that I don't like setting New Year's resolutions, is because I have fallen into the trap of like, I'm going to lose all this weight this year. And I've never lost the weight. If anything, I've gained more weight when I've set those types of goals for myself because, um, yeah, it's not something achievable on January 1st, January 2nd, when you start this new goal. You're just thinking about like the end outcome that you want rather than
Hmm.
thinking about like what's today look like? What's tomorrow look like? How do I slowly but surely get there in a way that I can sustain? And yeah, I mean, it's really hard to even do that, but it is going to be slightly easier, slightly more attainable than what it seems like you're doing now.
Totally. I completely agree that it's about the lifestyle. Like if it's a long-term goal, like I want to do this to take care of my health long term. And sure, there can be vanity reasons involved or whatever, because usually with exercise or eating or all these things, it's a mix usually. So I think it's okay to be honest about that. But being honest about your motivations includes I think one thing you can do is swap out the goal for an emotion. And I actually just recorded a like New Year's resolution video that will probably come out the same week as this. So this might be a little repetitive if somebody watched that video. But one thing I talked about is like instead of setting this hard and fast goal of like, I want to lose X number of pounds or I want to lift weights 5 times a week. Instead, think about like the emotion you're trying to experience by achieving that goal. Like, I want to, have this healthier regimen so that I um, can feel a sense of pride, can feel a sense of pride in how I've conquered a new goal, in how I've owned my health, in how I've owned my lifestyle and owned my goal or something like that. Like I want to feel really proud of myself. And usually when people do kind of make progress on these goals, that's exactly the boost they get. And centering on the feeling you want to feel, the positive feeling you want to feel, I think helps me. That's something I could access week to week because in one week, first week of January, I could go on a couple walks or maybe do some light exercise, or maybe adjust my diet in a moderate, healthy way. And I'm probably not going to look or feel that much different that week in my body, but I could immediately feel pride in that. You can immediately
Hmm.
take pride in that, and that momentum can take you into week 2 or week 3 or month 2. And if you kind of center on like the goal is this feeling, this is the feeling of pride that like I'm an adult person who is no longer encumbered by the coping habits of childhood and is taking my life into my own hands to make it look the way I want. I'm carving out the life I want for myself. You can take pride in that by day one. And rather than being like, okay, at the end of a year, I'll finally be able to feel proud that I look different or something.
Hmm.
So I think sometimes setting the positive emotion at the center of a goal instead of like I'm going to strictly do this thing is nice, because when you also when you set the emotion at the center, I want to feel proud of myself. You can still feel proud when you're PMSing one week and you're like, I need to take it easy. That is
Hmm.
me listening to my body, and it doesn't mean I've deviated from my goal. I think when you set just a strict goal, it means either I'm doing the goal or I'm not. But when you set like a positive emotion for yourself, it takes care of yourself more. It stays in touch with like what's realistic for you more, and you can stay on target with feeling pride in how you're taking ownership of your life while still adjusting how exercise looks for you day to day. It doesn't have to mean running 6 days a week. It doesn't have to mean exercising 6 days a week. It could mean listening to when you need a rest and being realistic about that, and listening when you need a little bit of a push, and listening, I think it leaves more room for the human in that goal. Um, and I did just think of one piece of science I wanted to share. Here's my science, which may apply to the listener, but I'm assuming it at least applies to some people listening. So this is specifically related to disordered eating, which I don't know if the listener has disordered eating or not, but a lot of people do. And it's something I've struggled with kind of healing through. And a lot of people listening do. So I'm not saying that the listener does, but in case you feel like you have some degree of disordered eating, whether that's a full blown eating disorder, bulimia, anorexia, orthorexia, or just emotional eating, binge eating, restricting, whatever, I, with all the reflection and all the therapy and all the professional care I've gotten for the eating disorder I had when I was in my teens and 20s, I never really understood why it developed. I never really understood, I think therapists and doctors would be like, "Well, it's a disease of control. It's someone who feels out of control and they're trying to take control." And I was like, I I guess that makes sense. It's not totally wrong, but it never really resonated for me, and it was weird that my disordered eating always felt like kind of a mystery to me, as someone who like reflects a lot and has like dug into this as much as I feel like a person can. And I still like didn't really understand the purpose it served for me at a time, because obviously it served some deranged purpose at a time,
Hmm.
like all our bad, quote, bad habits do. Until literally just a few months ago, I was reading, what was I reading about? I think I was reading about autism. And autism and has a really like 30, I think it was 30% or higher of people with autism um develop an eating disorder. And the reason for that is because they are so lacking the skills to emotionally regulate. And so the commonality between me and a lot of people on this earth, and also some people with autism, is they when they grew up, they did not learn to healthily emotionally regulate, and food quickly becomes the place that people emotionally regulate. And it blew my fucking mind. And then I kept reading about like emotional regulating and autism and other sources of like where people lack emotional regulating. And I came across this statistic that was like I think it's like 30% of people with anorexia experience childhood abuse, and that develops again into
Mm,
there's no room to emotionally regulate and becomes food. And that was my childhood. And I was like, oh my fucking God, how did no one ever say this to me before? That
yeah.
is the thing that resonates. That is the thing that hits. That is the purpose it served. I had no ability to emotionally regulate in a difficult childhood, and food was the thing. And there was some statistic. I'm saying this because it blew my fucking mind. And I know there's got to be a ton of listeners out there who I hope it blows your fucking mind. It's like 30% of people with anorexia experience childhood abuse, something like 30% or 50% or higher, I can't remember, of people with bulimia experience sexual abuse. There's like some
Mm,
correlation between the two. And the
wow.
commonality between all of these is an inability to develop healthy emotional regulating. So to me, I have to assume that even if you're not full blown anorexic or full blown bulimic, or maybe you have other forms of binge eating or disordered eating, that maybe you want to look at what does your emotional regulation system look like? How healthy is that looking to you? I think with anyone I've spoken to, it's their disordered eating is so tied to emotions and stress, anxiety, coping with family, coping with heartbreak, coping with anxiety. It seems like the through line for all of it. So I would start by like, I think just being like, well, I'll eat differently, I'll exercise differently is almost like the band-aid solution.
Hmm.
And in my experience, there's a much deeper issue that's urging me to have this disordered eating, which is that I have not put enough time and energy and care towards how I emotionally regulate. And I don't know if that applies to this listener, but I think that could it blew my fucking mind. I didn't know how no one had ever said that to me before, but it just like it made all the sense in the world to me, and it's been a huge game changer.
Yeah, I really like that. I'm
That's
like
my science.
stunned too that that only
Yeah.
came to you
Well, yeah,
a couple
what? It's
months
like
ago. Like what
it
is
kind of
everybody doing?
it kind of seems obvious. Like I knew eating was obviously an
Emotional
emotional
eating is a thing. Yeah.
outlet for most people, but something about yeah, something about, I don't know, like specifically emotional regulating. You get big feelings and you don't know what to do with it. Maybe in your childhood you didn't have a place to put them, or you weren't allowed to put them somewhere, you weren't allowed to have them, or you experienced, sexual abuse has this deep tie to bulimia. It just like blew my mind.
Hmm.
Yeah, so
I think
mm,
that's a really good place to start. Like if you have any sort of habit or lifestyle choice or lifestyle struggle that you realize is not serving you, but it's really hard to stop. Like
mm-hmm,
look at I liked the way that you phrased that question. Like, what purpose is this serving for me?
mm-hmm,
And specifically, like, what emotional purpose is this serving for me? Is this my comfort? Is this my regulation? Is this my sense of control? Like, whatever it is, and trying to get to the bottom of that, and then tackle that thing, and probably tackling the like physical and habit manifestation of
mm-hmm.
that emotional um choice that you're making will become a lot easier. Like the listener in the DM who again, we don't know if this is exactly what's going on with you. Now we're just spitballing, but wrote about not only like improving diet and losing weight and stuff, but also wrote about therapy. And
Mm.
it's
They
like
go together.
it's of course they go together. Yeah, like physical and mental health are so intertwined. And I feel like if you're going to do one thing out of that list, like if you've never
Mm-hmm.
successfully tackled your relationship with food or managing your health and your weight physically, um, or your mental health, like I would start there because
With
there's
therapy.
probably yeah, with
Yeah.
therapy, because there's probably things that you can unlock there that will then like trickle out to the rest. Obviously, if you have a more like dire healthcare need, like get what you need physically to be well, but if this is more like an ongoing thing, I feel like, yeah, if I'm to tell you, okay, prioritize one, I would say
Yeah,
prioritize the therapy because it will probably have ripple effects to the rest, to Caroline's
I think
point.
that's great advice. And when I have known people who tackled this in therapy, usually a good therapist can help connect you with like if you also want to get in touch with a nutritionist or a dietitian who specializes in
Yeah,
um there's some education there, but there's also like the emotional therapeutic part. They can usually connect you with a lot of really good people. So I think that's a
totally.
great advice. Start with the therapy, and that's you're not going to lose. You are not going to
Mm-hmm.
lose, and you can just build on it from there. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Cute. Okay, let's keep going. I
Good luck,
think
hun.
anytime we end something with start therapy, I'm like, that was cute. That was a win.
That was
Um,
cute.
I do agree. Okay.
Y'all, I have two new goals for the new year as far as eating in my meals. One is to vary up the nutrition that I'm getting in my meals because I don't cook a lot. I end up eating like the same three foods over and over, and I know it's not good for me. HelloFresh is the way that I mix in more variety because it brings in variety without me having to think about it. And then Justin makes it for me. Ha ha ha. And in addition to like the nutritional benefit of variety in your meals, it also just makes me kind of, it's that feeling of being alive, of just trying new things. I very easily get into this rut of eating the same thing over and over, and it just feels lame and boring. So HelloFresh is really the best route for me to do that.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I feel like I have such a tendency when I get stuck in a rut with my nutrition and my diet to just order food in and do takeout. But I feel like with HelloFresh, it gives me the feeling of getting takeout. Like it's a meal that is restaurant quality and feels like something that I would order on an app and pick up locally in my neighborhood. But it makes me feel not like shit afterwards because one,
Totally.
I've cooked it at home. Two, it's like whole ingredients and I can feel good about like the quality of the food that I'm eating. And three, it's cheaper. And so I just always feel really bad about myself after ordering out. And I do it a lot when I'm trying to find that variety. But with HelloFresh, I'm able to find that variety in my home and feel way better about it in like every sense of the word.
Relatable. Yeah, the way Justin and I like to do it is that we do like 2 meals a week for a family of four, quote unquote. And spoiler, we're the family of four. So we always have leftovers and it ends up being a lot more. If you guys want to try it, you can get up to 10 free meals and a free high protein item for life.
Protein for life.
Wow.
Let's get swole, bro.
At HelloFresh.com/, not for everyone 10FM. We know that's a weird that's a weird code to go to. We're gonna write it in the description of this episode. But that's HelloFresh.com/ not for everyone, all letters, 10FM. It's going to be one item per box with an active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on your first box. New subscribers only and varies by plan. That's up to 10 free HelloFresh meals. Just go to HelloFresh.com/ not for everyone 10FM.
Click it. Here's one about more shifting gears towards like career goals in the new year. So this person said, "What to do? I'm planning to start a side hustle in addition to my 9 to 5 Monday to Friday job. I'm intimidated by the
Yeah.
amount of work. My 9 to 5 job is fairly new and already more work than my previous job. At the same time, I know that now is the right time to start this side business because I have the knowledge and theoretically the time. How do I handle managing my own time with these two jobs without getting burnt out?"
Good
This just
cue. Good
spoke to
cue.
me. This just spoke to me on a personal note. I think it's funny that because I really get this that they said I have the knowledge and theoretically the time right now, so this is the right time to do it. And yet they're also like, how do I manage my time when I make this big move? Because it is hard. Like on paper, you could look like you have the time, or maybe it's more like, I'm still young and I don't have kids yet, and like I have the time in that way. Or maybe it's like I have the support system and that enables some more time for me, but it is still such a time. It is just like it's funny to be like I have the time right now. Also, I don't have the time and I'm freaking out and how help me manage my time.
Hmm.
And I just relate to that a lot, like feeling like both because I feel like I work two jobs technically. Like I have my Monday to Friday 9 to 5 job, and then I have the side business that I'm building here with Caroline. And it is like a mind-boggling it is a mind-boggling thing to feel like I'm just like home in front of my computer pretty much no matter what and no matter which job I'm working on. And even when I'm relaxing, I'm just like at home on my computer. It looks like I have a lot of time because I'm just at home, but like there is so much going on and so much to manage when you're doing two things at once. So anyway, that's my little reaction before getting to anything like concrete to help. But what do you think? I'll let you go first. You solved this for me, actually. This I
You
actually
saw
wrote in this.
this.
I actually wrote in this. What did you?
You wrote it in.
Yeah,
Um, okay, well, I guess I'm thinking on what I did.
yeah,
And I don't know if my I'll share, I mean, yeah, I don't know if my history is that helpful. I would say for me, like when I was starting YouTube while working a full-time job in tech, I was just so determined to do it that I spent every free hour doing it. And I will say that was made possible by the fact that I was like, my relationship was really bad at the time, my past relationship, and I like didn't have any friends in this new state I'd moved to. So it wasn't like, oh, there's like so many social things I'm gonna have to
yeah.
say no to. But you are going to, whether you want to say no to social things or you don't have social things to say no to, you're probably gonna have to make some sacrifices somewhere. And so I think, you'll be able to figure out for yourself like how much of those sacrifices you're willing to do right now. Because I'm not going to say, end your social life completely or else you don't deserve it. Um, on the contrary, I think keeping in your connections to your people and your world and getting good exercise and still taking care of yourself and getting sleep and like seeing your people to some degree, it's like you want some of that in to sustain you because it's going to be a hustle for a bit. And if you make it completely miserable for yourself, I doubt that you'll want to keep it up. Kind of like any of these New Year's
Hmm.
goals were like if you make it completely miserable, it's going to be much harder to force yourself through it. But also balancing that with being like, yeah, I might miss out on some cool parties or like I might miss out on some family time. And just deciding, or I think A, deciding what the balance is for you, and B, deciding when you choose your balance, like reminding yourself you're doing it for a reason. Like it's not going to be forever. You're going to see your friends a bit less if that's what you choose. Like I'm going to see my friends a bit less because I'm going to spend weekends working on my side hustle, whatever, and just knowing why you're doing it. Um, but for me, like I just wanted to spend my time on it all the time. Which I do think, I guess I want to be careful about what I say. It's gonna be work and it's not gonna just be like riding on passion all the time. But I do think it's important to notice early on if you're like dreading every second of it and hating every second of it,
Yeah,
pay attention to that and like maybe I don't know what that means for you, but I want you to like find something that you have enough of a mix of both. I like parts of this and parts of it I dread, but I will still kick my ass through it because I know why I'm doing it. You know what I mean? You don't want it to be full dread. I also I
100%.
think I heard one other tip which I personally did not do, but I feel like it could be helpful when you're balancing with the job. I heard this tip. Um, this guy was actually talking about like wanting to improve his workout regimen, and um, he was talking about how for work, like your day job, basically work will expand to fill the allotted time. So if I have
Hmm.
like a work day and all I have to do is send 2 emails, you better believe I'm going to find some way subconsciously to like make those 2 emails take up the whole day. Or if you give them a work project and you're like, this presentation is due tomorrow, and you're the boss, they'll get it done tomorrow. But if you give them the same presentation and you're like, this is due in a week, they'll find a way to make it like take a week. You know what I mean? Like work
Yeah.
expands to fill the allotted time. Whether you're reporting to a boss or doing it for yourself, it just does. And so this guy's advice was, I can't remember who it was who said this, but this guy's advice was like, if there's something else additional to your day job work schedule that you want to prioritize, such as getting to the gym or working on your side hustle, do that first in the day. And
Hmm.
so he was like, personally for me, I know like I will only work out in the morning because in the evening, early in the morning, less people are asking of your time, less people are bothering you. And I know once I get that done, whatever work I have to get done during the day, I will squeeze it into the remaining hours because I have a boss and I have deadlines and I will find a fucking way to squeeze it into those hours. But if I start with just doing my work in the day and in the evening is when I'm allegedly going to work out, I'm the boss of that and I'll always let me off the hook. I'll always decide it's okay. Or like, my family needs me or my kids needs me. It will always get it's so easy for me to just push it to the next day and see
Yeah.
if we do it then. And I felt like that honestly resonated with me a lot. Even though I usually work out in the evening, I think I drop my workouts a lot and it would be better for me to do it in the morning for all those reasons. There's too many
Hmm.
reasons in the evening to ditch it, and you're also tired after the workday. So I think that could apply also to a side hustle, is being like maybe the safest thing for you to do is get up a couple hours early in the morning when it's, usually more quiet hours. Maybe kids are less likely to bother you or work is less likely to bother you. And guaranteeing, if nothing else, I'm getting in my side hustle hours and then I can bust ass in creative ways to get those deadlines met for my bosses for my day job
Yeah.
afterwards, kind of. I might try
Yeah, I
that.
really like that. I really agree with it. Especially, I think the gym example is like 100% of the time,
No, I
yes,
need to
that
do
is
that for the
true.
gym. I need to
Yeah,
switch to the morning. I need to
I need
switch
to
to the
switch
morning.
too. I keep debating whether I'm going to or not. Like I will switch for like 2 weeks to the morning and I'll feel really good about it and I'll be going regularly. And then I'm like, oh, cool, I'm going to the gym regularly now that I did this for 2 weeks. I'll go back to doing evenings now that I'm like back with it.
We
And then
can't
of
be
course
trusted. We
I
can't be
can't.
trusted.
I can't because work will take, I mean, first of all, I could keep working, whether it's on my day
Yeah,
job or the podcast into the evening. And then if it's a day when I don't have more to do and I don't need to keep working, I can still tell myself, well, you just worked all day, bitch, and you're tired and you should just chill. So,
totally.
yes, agree with that example wholeheartedly. I do think there's something there's like a fine line for me at least between feeling actually more motivated and like,
Your side hustle, you will be
yep,
dying to get that
yep.
day job back. Yeah.
And for the record, and I've said this a bunch, but like it was still the best thing I've ever done. Like if somebody's
I
listening
know.
and
Yeah.
in a position, yeah, I know you know. But if somebody's in a position where they're thinking about doing that, I still recommend you to do that because I don't think that I would understand that lesson from just somebody telling it to me, if that makes sense. Like I think I
Mm-hmm.
needed to do that first of all to get my priorities straight of like what do I want from the side hustle? What do I want from the corporate job? But then to go back to the corporate world with a very clear mission of
Mm-hmm.
like this is what this is for and this is how this is enabling me to do the thing on the side. And like basically I don't I don't complain as much about my job, my day job as much as I used to because I've had this experience of like I know I don't know. I know what it gives me. I'm just clear on what it
Yeah.
gives me. And I'm not looking for it to give me something else. I don't need to like get the passion and the fulfillment from it. I have the thing that I'm trying to get that I am getting that from, and I want to keep getting that from, and that I keep wanting to that I want to keep pouring into for that purpose. But the day job gives me this structure and stability that I am also clear on how much I need that because I had that time without it. So, anyway, I just think it's all very worthy. I feel like we strayed away from the person's question a little bit, but I still think this is all relevant. Like, you will find the time, and you might even find that this is a more effective way for you to make more progress on your side hustle, for you to also do it while you have a day job. So I just think, yeah, go into it with a mindset that is clear on like what am I getting from each thing, and
Mhm.
remind yourself of that in the harder moments.
I was just going to add that you'll probably end up doing this naturally, but just noticing and being really honest and realistic about when you're actually have the energy to do additional work. I know like
Mm,
you think about like most
I'm bad
writers.
at this.
For most writers, you are not going to go work a full day job, work till 5, and then sit down at your personal laptop at 5:15 and just start cranking out words on the keyboard. Like it's nearly impossible. That system works for almost nobody. You usually need, a lot of people find you need to create a space to first decompress, to unwind, to collect your thoughts, to mull about in silence before ever a single word is ever typed. And that doesn't really happen. That process doesn't really happen when you're just like going straight from 8 hours of draining work. So maybe you'll find it's not a rule for everybody because I work really well at night. I usually do most of my work late at night. Um, but for a lot of people, I think it would be the reverse. And maybe you'll find that like this idea that I'm going to do it in the evening is not happening. So I'm going to get super severe about blocking off my weekends. I'm going to get
Hmm.
really severe about blocking out my weekends, and weekend is side hustle time. And maybe weekday evenings is more, socialize, decompress, do whatever because you realize it's not really useful for time for you to be constructive in your side hustle. I don't know. It's you're gonna have to feel it out. But I
Yeah.
think it's just like, and you'll notice that pretty naturally. But just to know that like it's okay to be honest about where your energy is, and then just like commit to problem solving it. Okay, I don't have energy after this work. Maybe I need to try the mornings. Maybe I need to try the weekends. Maybe I whatever. Yeah.
Hmm. I think that's really good advice. That's something I'm still figuring out. You talked about the gym. Oh, and you talked about letting something go. And I feel like this is actually maybe the most important piece of this whole conversation is like there will be sacrifices that need to be made to add this new thing into your life. So just like knowing that up front, like Caroline said, I think that's really important. I know that I do way less socializing now than I used to. And it doesn't mean I don't socialize, but it's less than I used to. And it also looks different. Like instead of a late night out with friends where I'm going to be hungover the next day, I'll still do that sometimes, don't get me wrong, but I used to do it a lot more. And I feel like now I do like an early dinner or a walk or like something that's a little shorter and doesn't require hours and hours of time from me and doesn't mess up my next day with me being hungover, or like um something on a weeknight that's a little more mellow versus taking up my Saturday. I'm It's still a priority for me to see my people, and that is something that fulfills me and gives me like fuels me to do all of this work and to pursue my passion and things like that. But it just has to look different now in order for it to fit into my schedule. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I think, yeah, you have to get creative with your schedule basically. And you have to think like, okay, these are the non-negotiables. These are the things I want to add in. How can I add them in a way that it all still fits? It might have to look different from what it used to look like. And that's just part of it.
When I was the last year I was working my tech job and building YouTube, I was aware, and I think this happens with a lot of side hustles, that there's like sometimes there's a period where there's like a wave you need to catch. And maybe the
Mm,
wave is like a business opportunity you have with your side hustle or a client, depending on whatever it is. Or on YouTube, there was definitely like I was gaining momentum, and like you kind of have a short opportunity to catch that wave and build on it, or it could go away. Maybe the wave you have to catch is your energy and enthusiasm about the thing.
mm,
But I became aware that like there was a short period of time where I needed to haul ass, and it would not be forever. Um, Otherwise I would never have like signed on to this kind of lifestyle. But if it was like 9 months to a year that I was working 90-hour weeks, and there was no There's no replacement socializing. There was nothing. I was neglecting my family too, but luckily they understood it was for a purpose. Something was happening and they would see me in about a year. And it was honestly kind of miserable, but the reason it worked was because it was time bound. And I knew I was doing it for a reason
Hmm.
because I care about catching this wave. And I think that wave can come in different forms and at different times. Yeah, it might just be your energy and enthusiasm to do it. Like I know if I don't do this now, I'm going to miss an opportunity to feel really proud of myself or something like that. So think about the wave, think about how long the wave lasts and what you're willing to do for it, I guess.
Yes. +1.
Okay. Plus one.
Okay. We got one more that I found timely.
Okay, nasty
Uh,
boy.
let's do it nasty.
You look
This
really
one's,
pretty right now.
oh my gosh, thank you. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of double chin in the position I'm in. So I keep holding
I'm not seeing
my
that.
jowls. If you're on
Your
YouTube, you see
jowls.
me holding my jowls this whole episode.
I didn't know what that move was. Yeah,
That's what that
I just
is.
thought you were really glowing when you were like
Thank
ranting
you.
a little bit a while ago. I didn't want
Oh, I glow when I rant. It's true. Okay.
to.
Here's the last one. It's kind of long, but I think it's very important. What to do making peace with being single. Hey, Jess and Caroline, I need a big sis advice on how to make peace with being alone. I'm in my late 20s and have been single for a long while. It's not easy for me to sit with that, especially now that most of my friends are in relationships or getting married or having kids. To be clear, this is not the life I want to live right now. I'm not looking for marriage and all that. I'm simply longing to find true love and connection, but I'm at a place in my life where it is almost impossible to meet new people. There is nothing that I can do to change the fact that I'm single and will probably stay single for a very long time. However, I know that I need to change my mindset about this so I can stop obsessing over being lonely. I know that love will come at the right time, quote, when I least expect it, but I find it so hard to internalize that. My loneliness is not allowing me to enjoy and appreciate other achievements in my life and is slowly making me miserable to the point where I'm starting to feel like an ungrateful bitch, sad face. I thought that was funny. I remember
Oh.
Caroline talking about dating while still being happy being single. Like, how do I do that? Can you guys please talk a little bit more about this? Any tips on why/how to feel happy being single, how to accept it and accept that there is nothing I can do that will change it? Sweet pea.
Wait, I
Sweet
have
pea.
so many follow-up questions though.
Yeah, true.
I think I have a lot of I don't know whether to take this listener. First of all, I want to hug you. It's the worst feeling. I I I do know that feeling. And I have so many friends and family members who are like they're like I'm just fucking ready to really love someone and be loved. Like you can't tell me I'm not ready for this. Like this I think a lot of the quippy things people want to tell you is like
Mm,
maybe you need to work on yourself more. Maybe you da da da. I think a lot of it's bullshit. Sometimes you're just fucking ready.
yeah, and it hasn't
And
happened yet.
it's a horrible feeling. Like I want to hug you, but I think I just have a little pause when you're like and there's nothing I can do about it.
Agree.
That part I
That's the
don't
mindset
know.
shift.
That part I mean, I'm trying to think. There are okay, maybe let's imagine the person because we didn't get more details from her. Is a girl, right? Is a lady?
Yes, it's a
Is a
lady. Oh, she's a
feminine?
lady.
I don't actually know the rest of that song, but I
Me
wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to be a part of it.
I just like it when it's in Mrs. Doubtfire. Go
Mm,
ahead.
you know what, there probably are. Let's just assume we agree with her. Let's picture a person right now. Picture someone who is not able to meet new people. Maybe they've got maybe they're a single parent
Okay.
and working two or three jobs and barely making the money and they work really remotely and their job is alone and they have greater responsibilities right now than being able to fulfill their need for social connection or romantic connection. There's probably periods in people's lives where that's true. But I would still urge you to like decide when a period is coming up that you can prioritize this thing in your life that you want more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it's truly the thing you want more than anything, I do want to give a little tough love and say, I don't care if you have three kids at home to take care of. Maybe you need to lean on your community a little bit to give you one night a week to go on a date and meet some people, get on a nap and meet some people. Maybe they work alone in Alaska in like an ice fisher and there's literally no community around. I'm like trying to think of what would be the scenarios where that statement really could be true that there is nothing they can do about it. I
Right.
think that gives me pause.
It gave me total pause. I think that what they are saying, or one thing that they're alluding to is like, I can't force somebody to be in a
Yeah.
relationship with me. I can't
Yeah.
force
A
being able to
connection.
find the person who I have that connection with. And of
Okay, maybe
course
they're not
not.
an ice fisher. That makes more
Of
sense than
course,
ice fisher.
of
Yeah.
course, of course you can't. Of course it's not fully in your control. Like I remember thinking this when I was single, thinking like,
Yeah.
this is the only thing in my life that requires another person to agree to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
career, I can get there on my own. My like home and where I live and what I do for a social life and whatever, like I can get there on my own. But this thing of having a partner for like a long-term loving partner, that is something that somebody else has to choose with me and I
Okay,
can't
I
control whether
see.
they do it or not. So I
Okay, okay.
understand feeling that way. I still don't agree with, though, the phrasing of like, there's nothing I can do about it because there is. And I think another thing I felt a lot when I was single was I felt like ashamed that finding a partner for a time was such a big part of my life, like dating and meeting people and trying to find a partner. It took up a lot of my brain space for some period of time when I was single. And I remember feeling like I don't want to be one of those girls that's like boy obsessed and just like dating and like can't be happy alone and wants to find their person and obsesses over it, makes it my whole personality. And I'm sure that I wasn't because I know myself and I have like a very dynamic personality with a lot of interests. But it just felt like at that time, I was
Yeah,
prioritizing finding this thing and
I
it
get it.
was taking up a lot of energy. And I felt shame about that. And now looking back on it, I'm like, how else was I to do it? Like
Yeah.
there's really not an option. If this is
I
something
think
that's important to you,
the
you
shame is
have to
so
kind of the
unnecessary.
shame is such an unnecessary layer to it, and you can just go and get it, and you can put effort into it, you can work at it, and you can make it something that takes up a lot of your time and your mental space. And that is okay. Like you are allowed to want to find a partner, you're allowed to want to find love. That's my therapist literally told me at that time when I was like, I feel icky about this or something. I feel like I'm judging myself. And she was like, it's like it is the most human thing to want to find romantic love. Like, stop it. Like
Yeah.
everybody wants that. It's
Amen.
okay. So
Yeah.
if that's any ounce of what you're feeling, like I just need to accept where I am and why am I even like wanting this so much when it's something I can't even control? I'm here to tell you that like you are allowed to take more control of it actually. You are allowed to step into going after the thing you want. And you
Agree.
don't have to just say that it's out of your hands. It's not fully. It is kind of, but not fully.
I agree. Thank you for saying that. Hell yeah.
Hmm.
I think to clarify, like when I was single, I liked a lot of parts of my life, but I also felt like profound loneliness and like I wasn't known by anybody. Like that way you get to
Mm.
be like intimately known, maybe only by your partner. I'm I felt profoundly lonely in that way. I felt like I wasn't known, and I definitely wanted a partner. There were other parts of my life that I was like sufficiently fulfilled in, um, and were almost scary to give up my independence once I found somebody, but it wasn't just like, I don't even know if I want to be with someone. Fuck no. If that's how I felt, I never would have gone on a bunch of blind dates from
Right.
dating apps. Like I wanted it. I definitely wanted it, and I definitely felt the lack. I don't want to paint the wrong picture. I guess it was just that in the meantime, I'm trying to think how I did feel. In the meantime, I guess I had prior to being single, I'd been in a long-term relationship where, I had a partner. I had this person who was, we were committed to each other theoretically. Um, but my life felt really dead. It did not feel like a life well lived.
Yeah.
Like I didn't do new things. I didn't try new things. I wasn't like I didn't get any reward from like challenging or pushing myself. I wasn't like socially allowed to like do fun or interesting things. I lived far from my family. I didn't even have that connection. Like there was just like and the relationship itself wasn't giving me much. So I think when I was single, I was just so hungry. As soon as I got out of that relationship, I was just so hungry to just like fill my life with stuff. And not just stuff, but like the things that make you feel alive. And
Yeah.
one of those things that would make me feel alive is finding deep and loving connection and knowing with a partner. But it's not the only thing. I definitely, definitely wanted that though. But I was also just really gung ho about like, I get to go to this new concert with people I don't know even that well. I get to like try this new workout class, and I get to like own what I get at the grocery store because no one else weighs in, and I got to make exactly the recipe I want to do, and I get to just like small things, big things. I get to go on a vacation on my own, or I get to go with my girlfriends, or I get to sign up for this bizarre experience. And I was just really, I think for the first time in my life, I owned, like, if I want my life to be exciting and new and something I feel like grateful for each week, then I'm going to own it. And I'd never been that way
Hmm.
before. And I think going through a really, like, several years of my life that were really dead feeling, as soon as I got out of that relationship, I was just like really all about it. Literally, the week I moved home from a 6-year relationship, my life was instantly so much more full because it'd been so dead. I started. I was writing in a journal, and I kept a list of everything I did socially. It wasn't even a journal, it was just a list. And I would write down all the social things I did. And I look back on the list now, and it's like it kind of makes me sad because I thought these were social things, and it just says how bad my life was before. But the things on the list were like, I got brunch with mom and dad's friends after they went to church. Oh my God, that was more social interaction than I had in like 4 years. Or like I got to go see my aunt who's so annoying, but like we went to this new store together. Or like it was not really most people's idea of like a fun, exciting, glitzy social media postable life. But those moments were like, they were new, they were different things. I was signing up for classes, I was signing up for sports teams. I think trying new stuff feels so close to
Yeah.
being alive to me. And I was so starved of it that I was so excited about every single one of those things. So to me, it was a lot about just like, I'm going to assume I'm dying at the end of this year. And in the
Hmm.
meantime, I'm going to fill this, like, do that bucket list. And it doesn't have to be skydiving type bucket list things, but like, I've always been afraid to host a party. So let's fucking host a party for my friends this month. And that is going to be new and exciting and a challenge and something that I thought I could never do. And I'm going to fucking do it this month. And that's going to be a huge achievement. And no, it's not going to be the exact same as having this lifelong romantic partner, but it is going to be one of these things that makes me feel like I am alive and living my life and using it as if I'm going to die at the end of this year. And I'm not saying it's going to replace it, but maybe that can get you 75% of the way there. And it's still okay for that remaining 25% or 50% or whatever your percent is to still be. And I also really want a partner.
Yep.
But with whatever that other part is, I think I just learned that the partner alone is not everything. You can have an amazing partner. I have an amazing partner now. And if I did not also have social connections, some acquaintance connections, some creative fulfillment, some exercise that gave me dopamine, if I did not have anything else, I would be a depressed person.
Hmm.
I think once you've had the love thing and learned that love alone is not enough, then it becomes easier to care about investing in those other things that also make up your fulfillment. So I think that's how I ended up feeling passionate and gung ho about that. But just to be clear, kind of as Jess said, it's not that I was not the person who felt like, well, I have friends and I work out and I have a job I like and I have side hustles and I have family. And so I don't even need a lover. No, I was
Right.
just like, I'm taking as much ownership of those other things as I can. And it's okay to still also want this other thing that I'm really missing.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I could not agree more with everything you just said, and I feel like that's very similar to the experience that
Yeah,
I
your
had
long-term
going through my
relationship.
breakup. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I had just moved to Chicago and gone through this breakup, and I was in this new place where I knew very few people, and I didn't even know where to order. I mean, I remember like my first week in Chicago wanting to order food on DoorDash and being like panicked, like truly having an anxiety attack because I could not figure out where to, like, oh, I'm not from here. What are the places to order
Mm.
food on DoorDash? Like that was scary to me. And slowly after breaking up with that partner and like really being thrust into this new place and new world with no other option but to like figure it out for myself, um, I started to find those places and I started to go to new things and do things I hadn't done before or that I'd always wanted to do. And I remember one of the things that stuck in my head for a really long time is when I was still in that relationship and things were kind of feeling dead, feeling like they were on their, it was on the decline and we weren't really having fun together anymore. And I was talking to my therapist and I said, like, oh, he really disappointed me this weekend because we were going to go to the farmer's market on Sunday morning. I really wanted to go with him. But when we woke up, he was like too tired and he didn't want to go with me. And my therapist was like, so go on your own. And I think about that all the time to this day because I think when I was in my first relationship, like loving long-term relationship, I just thought you do all these things with your partner and I would rather do it with him. So why would I go alone? I want to go with him. And my therapist was really trying to like put into my head this thing of like what they do or don't do doesn't have to stop you. And I think once that relationship ended and I was single for a couple years, I really like grabbed the bull by the horns with that concept. And it was like, what are the things that I wanted to do with him or that I want to do in a future relationship? And can I just go do them now by myself? Like, I don't need to wait to go to the farmer's market. I can just go. I don't need to wait to go on that vacation. I can just go. I like the example you gave of like I've never thrown a dinner party. I can do that. Like even if that's something maybe this listener is like, "Oh, I would love to throw a dinner party in the future. I see myself in my future with my partner throwing a dinner party." That is wonderful. I hope that you get that. I think you will get that. But you can still have a dinner party now without the partner, and that'll be its own fun story and experience and trying something new that you want to do. And then when you have the partner, do it again and you'll add their
Mhm.
touch to it. But I guess my point is like think of all those things that you would love to have a romantic partner for and then try to do a bunch of them on your own. And I think that is really how I lived for those couple of years. So I align exactly with what you're saying of like I actually lived such a full life and was so like everything was fun and new and exciting and made me feel alive for that like year after my breakup and probably longer. I mean, I still think I like have that in me because of the experience that I went through and and held space for the fact that I wanted to find love, but also didn't let it stop me from doing the things I want to do anyway. So, yeah, you can do both. Like, two things can be true. You can want to find love, you can prioritize it, you can go on dates, you can do everything in your power to open yourself up to that. But don't let it stop you from living the life that you want in the meantime and from enjoying your other relationships, your relationships with your friends and family, from experiencing new things. Like, it sounds really obvious and cliche, but I do think it's true. And I think also, like, it gave me a lot more to talk about on dates, to understand about myself that would then inform the type of partner that I was looking for, like to expose myself to all of this new stuff and get to know myself better and have fun alone as much as I could while still sometimes having a night or two where I was sad because I didn't have someone to share it with in that romantic way. Um, it really like actually gave me information that I think was helpful in finding my partner. So
Hmm.
look at it that way. Like if you want 100% of your energy to go to finding a partner, which you never said, but you could think of this as part of that too.
Yeah. Love. It makes me think, I feel like I kind of want to cap it off with a little, I think when you're dreaming of something for yourself and you're like, is it going to happen? Is this not allowed to happen to me? Am I someone who's never going to get to have that thing? I always like to hear like even anecdotal stories of like people be like, it happened to them. And I remember
Hmm.
like one of my best friends in New York just got married and I went to her wedding and she and I met when she was 27 or 28 and she had never had a boyfriend. And it was one of those situations, and she was really down about it. She was really down about the fact that she was 28 and I can say I didn't have a lot of other friends who had never ever dated anyone by
Hmm.
that age. So like on paper I understood why she was getting in her head about it. And also, she was an amazing person in any way. Like I could not point to a reason why sometimes it just hasn't lined up yet. And I remember she was really bent out of shape about it. She got married, long before I did. And
Hmm.
there was no reason. She was just like there was no reason she shouldn't or couldn't find love. And I think I do. This is not science. This is just the art. This is the art I'm bringing right now,
Yeah,
which is that like I don't have the data to back this up, but I do think that if you are someone who really wants to find a romantic partner and you are able to hold, you know, deep and committed friendships, deep and committed relationships in other parts of your
mm,
life
hmm,
that are truly deep and committed, whether they're platonic or familial or friends or whatever, um, I think you're going to find it. I really think you are.
I love
If you're
that.
someone, if you're like, I really want a partner, but like, I've never been able to keep a single friend and none of my family talks to me anymore. If you can't keep a single relationship, then like maybe I wouldn't say that to you. Maybe there's something going on there that you isolate yourself from people or you shy away from intimacy on a subconscious level or I don't know what. But if you are able to have love and commitment with people platonically, you are able to have it romantically. And if you want to have it and you're not, backing away when it's offered to you, if you really want to have it and you are able to accept it when it's given to you, it's going to come and it's going to happen. And lots of people, maybe it'll happen in the next year or two. Maybe it will happen in your 30s or your 40s. I certainly don't know, but I do know people who have found their first partner maybe in their 40s. And those people, I swear to God, like say that's the worst case scenario is you find your partner later than you would like or later than some of your friends now. I swear to God, all the people who I know who got married in their 40s or found their partner in their 40s or 50s have the best relationships
Yeah.
because they've been through so much more. They know themselves more. They met each other as more solidified people. And then in the meantime, the people who got married in their 20s are all getting divorced. So
Hmm.
like if that's the worst case scenario, you've got a big open heart. You are genuinely open to love. You know how to love and take care of people in a committed way. Then the rest is just time, right? You're putting yourself out there. The rest is just time. I just think you're going to find it. I really do.
I love that. That chef's kiss. No, no notes. That's the right note to end it on. Yum, yum, yum. Kiss, kiss,
Yum,
kiss.
yum, yum, kiss, kiss, kiss.
Take us out,
Hey,
baby.
I love you, and
Oh.
I've always loved you, Hesika.
Oh.
Oh, wait, that's a song I wrote just now, but I did want to say I wrote a new song.
Okay.
I wrote a new song for Justin. he didn't like that one, that
Oh.
this one that much, but I thought it was really a banger. I'm trying to remember what the tune was. He was over at my apartment, and this is a really important song, I think. He was over at my apartment and he was about to leave. I feel like he had to like go get drinks or like I don't know. He had something on the calendar, he had to leave. And we were just having a great day and like neither of us really wanted to leave. And so I started serenading him. And the song that came out was You can never leave me or I'll wear you like a onesie. Meaning that if he ever leaves me to go do
To
something else,
cut off his skin.
I'll cut off his skin and wear him.
Yeah. I would
So
I
he was,
would cut off Ryan's skin and wear it for way less than that. Just,
yeah,
it doesn't have to be punishment. I just want to
just
get in
for
there
just for a little turn on.
for
Yeah.
a little good time. Yeah.
That's my latest song. You guys can sing to your partner if you ever feel like things are getting too good.
Thank you for that jingle.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining us today. You can find us on Instagram to send us your what-to-dos, your hot takes at not for everyone pod with the number 4. You can also email us at notforeveryonepod@gmail. If it's a longer thing, you want to email us. Um, and this is a great day to leave us a 5-star review. That's all
Yeah,
I'm
it
going to say.
is. I
It
heard
is. It's
that.
a great
I
day to
heard
leave
that
us a
somewhere.
5-star review.
I saw that in the paper this morning because I
Yeah,
read the
it really
paper.
helps us out more than you know. It helps us out and it sends you 5 stars worth of karma your way. I just know it. That's the
Ho
science.
ho. Do it. Kisses.
Bye.
Happy New Year.